noticed at the beginning of the school year that Luke was struggling to write. He's left-handed, and I had noticed that his handwriting, being homeschooled especially, I was able to see that it had just got progressively worse and worse. I remember sitting in our little school area on the couch with him, and I literally saw him take his pencil from his left hand and put it in his right hand to work on his math problem. And I knew when he couldn't hold it even in his hand that something was wrong.
So we're trying to figure out what could it be, and like, well, worst case scenario, it's a brain tumor. Hopefully, it's not that for sure, And
Jason and I just kept talking about it. My brother-in-law actually on Thanksgiving night said, "Is his hand always that cold?" And I had never really noticed. It's not like I walk around holding Luke's hand during the day or anything. And I felt it, and his left hand was significantly colder than his right hand. And also, I had noticed that it was even a different color. It was almost like a purple color. And the next morning, he went in for his first MRI. And the neurologist showed up to the door, and they said, "Can we speak to you?" And I walked out into the hallway, and I was led down the hallway to a big conference room. And there was probably 10 different people in that room, and I sat down at a little table with a doctor, and he's like, "I want to show you what we found." And we found that there's a tumor in his brain. And it just had to take a minute. I knew that just needed to, I wanted to make sure that my response to that situation actually was going to be God glorifying, and I wanted there to be no question of where my faith lied in that moment.
I mean, it's terrible. You never want to hear that kind of news, but you just, what do? We're not in charge, we're not in control, so we trust the Lord. That's who, we believe in, and we knew it was going to be a long road, and it's going to be hard, but the Lord had a plan, and we were going to trust Him.
They seemed to think that they knew what kind of tumor it was, that it wasn't a very good prognosis, where it was actually located at in his brain. It was in a common area, and so anyway, we went back, and the doctor sat down with Luke, and I sat with him on his bed, and he showed him the same images from the MRI that they showed me. And
first off, I thought it was a joke. Like, you gotta be kidding me. Nice one, Mom. Yeah, brain tumor. But then the doctor acknowledged me that it was real. I'm like, oh boy, that's not good. So then I just said, I'm just gonna take this thing head on, treat every problem with God, and let Him do the rest.
And then about 2.5 days after his brain surgery, they came back and they said, "This isn't quite looking like what we expected it to be." And they eventually came to the conclusion that Luke had what they called a pure germinoma in his basal ganglia, and the prognosis for that was 90% or better with the treatment plan that they had in play for us.
Everyone we share and everyone knew and was praying, and the Lord seemed every time to get us over that, from the brain surgery to the results of the tumor. I mean, just every time, all along the way, He was showing us that He was in control.
But I think Jason was more scared of the brain surgery in and of itself and what might happen, whereas I knew that the chemo part was going to be what killed him, was going to be the worst. And I remember one day standing in my kitchen, and he was sitting in these wing-back chairs in our dining room, and he was just slouched in them, and he couldn't eat anything, and he just looked so sickly and sad and tired. And I just remember having to turn around and walk away because it just made me sad, that here he was at 15 having to do these big things.
I just remember getting the little Eggo toaster waffles, and if I got half that down, that was a success. So, it's insanely hard.
Learned real quick that if he's feeling good one day, you just better enjoy it, because the next day he's probably not. And he did end up getting a flu when all his levels were real low, and it just about killed him. He went into septic shock, and we was in the hospital for a week or so. And it was. I mean, that's the way it was. It was a roller coaster with the chemo and the. You never know. So just because it's a good prognosis doesn't mean he's going to make it through chemo. I mean, the whole journey was just about trusting the Lord. I mean, we couldn't do anything about it. It was out of our hands. So.
Luke is what they call no evidence of disease. That means there is no tumor present in his brain, and there's no tumor cells present in his brain or his spinal cord fluid, and he's been doing good. He's been trying to get back to normal life.
From not thinking that he's even going to be around to just pretty much being normal is truly a blessing. And I mean, sure, there's little things that he could do better if this didn't happen, but it's going to make him who he is, and it's going to point to Jesus his whole life, because he went through this trial, and it's going to be really neat.
We know that, and we knew that this trial was going to either make or break Luke. We knew that it was going to be the thing that was either going to turn him away from a walk with God for his whole life, or it was going to draw him into that. And we know that God has great things, big things in store for him, and we just continue to pray that he will be able to use what he's gone through to show other people that even though that they're sinners and that they're not perfect, that there is a life that's worth living. And if you just know who Jesus is, and believe in that, and believe that he came down here on the earth to die on the cross for your sin, for the sins of the world, that, even though life may be hard, it's going to be worth it.